So figured out what I would do tonight is just sit down here and do up a quick video. This is from a game that I played here a couple days ago on my Nagato. It's one of my better ones, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't be putting it up. What I want you guys to kind of look for, kind of watch for as I'm playing this game is how I'm positioning my ship and where I'm getting how I'm getting all my citadels. In this game, as I said, I'm running my Nagato. Looking at the other team, the two ships that are going to give me the most concern that I'm going to need to keep an eye out for are the two Colorados. The two New Yorks are not that big of a threat. Pensacola's, love to see them. Love to see cruisers in any event, but Pensacola's are just that much easier to citadel. I'm of the firm belief that Wargaming ought to change the name of the Pensacola to Citadel because their Citadel box is so huge. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about with Citadels, Citadels are highly vulnerable areas of the ship where you can do maximum damage when firing AP, sometimes with HE. Typically those are at midships, about where the engine room would be, or underneath the turrets, or below the turrets where the magazines would be at. So starting out, the first thing I want to do is reload to AP rounds. I do that as soon as I get into the game. And on this map, I'm going to turn and start heading towards the 2 line. The reason I do that is I got more room to maneuver over there. As you're seeing the Congo starting to do, he's headed for that 9-10 line area, and that is a bad spot to go with if you're in a battleship, because you've got no room to maneuver. And if a destroyer's over there, he can torpedo you pretty easily, especially if you're by yourself or even with another battleship. And depending on how many enemy destroyers are there, your life expectancy could be really short. Things not to do is to not turn your ship broadside to another ship. At the early stage in this game, and the fact that the other side only has Colorados, I know that the Colorados can't reach me from their spawn point to here. The only concern I would have is destroyers going up the middle, getting close enough to launch torps at me, but I don't really consider that as a big enough threat to warrant me to adjust my angle moving over towards the 2 line. One thing I'll tell you about warships, as we're sitting here watching some of the enemies being detected, is always keep an eye on your mini-map. And I noticed too that this Cleveland was coming up, so I started cutting my speed, thinking he was going to cut across my bow, and I was just going to let him pass in front of me. Unfortunately, he cut his speed too. So here we are, neither one wanting to speed back up. And I go ahead and decide, I can see that he's turning, and I go ahead and decide to speed back up. And you can also see the Mahan out ahead of us. Not wanting to go up there where he's at in that narrow gap between the rocks, I'm going to go ahead and start turning to my starboard to the right and come in behind that island that you see that my ship's now pointed at. That'll give me more room to maneuver if that Mahan were to come through and launch torpedoes. As it is, he was already engaging the Mahan that was there, but I'm still going to go ahead and head out that direction and cut in behind these rocks just so that I've got more room to maneuver in case I need it. One quick thing about sight mod that I'm using one from Aslan's, and this is what it looks like on my screen when I'm zoomed in. There I just fired at the Mahan. Even though I had AP loaded, which typically overpins destroyers, I still managed to get almost 3,800 in damage. That combined with the shots fired by the cruisers, it took the Mahan out. The next up on my target list was the Murmansk, because at tier 5 I knew I could take him out fairly easily, but because I was reloading I went ahead and slowed down. Now the reason he disappeared was probably a combination between the islands and the smoke that's up there, but as you see, he's relit again. And you're going to start, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in at this point, because what you're going to see me doing, or what I was doing, is I was doing this number, and I'm trying to line up so that I get a shot broadside on that at that Pensacola's broadside. And here's the first 2 Citadels of the game. That's how easy it is to, I mean, that you try to do that with the Cleveland and you may or may not get a Citadel. I'm going to go ahead and come out of my zoom mode. I thought briefly about shooting at the Romance, but that Pensacola was almost dead and I wanted to get him. So I started leading him out. And got him right about there and fired. Now the reason I fired all of them is in case I had my lead wrong. I wanted to go ahead and make sure the shots got there. Now I know I've got 2 Colorados up here. One just disappeared off the screen. I still have one on. So I'm going to go ahead and turn bow in. By turning bow in, I'm reducing my profile and I'm also increasing the thickness of my armor, much like in World of Tanks, where if you angle your tank, you increase the thickness of, effectively increase the thickness of the armor. That was just kind of a quick snapshot at that Colorado. And I do believe I kind of cheated it. Usually I put it at about a 40. In this particular case, I was setting at about 30 when I fired. That what I'm talking about, setting it at a 30 or setting it at a 40, I put that 30 or 40 right about on the bow of the ship, and that allows for the distance, their speed, and shell flight time. You have to be able to, you have to learn how to adjust your shots accordingly based on the ship's speed. Now here normally I would be right about here, but when I fired that shot I actually pulled it in a little bit because he was slowing down to try to avoid that Colorado. Problem was he was broadside to me, and that's another battleship. Now I'm going to have rounds coming in here. I'm going to do minimal damage, but they are going to take out my my steering gear. I will wind up repairing that steering gear, but not right away. My next shot's going to be at this one here. Now normally again he would be at about, I'd put him at about a 40, but between having that island I cheated it and was pulling the sight back in as I fired, and my shots weren't quite where they needed to be, and because of it. The New York is back up again, and it looks like yep, we're going to be placing my sights right about there again due to speed, and here go the rounds. Now I'd already hit my repair crew to repair the rudder damage, and I'm on fire. Even if I had that R key available, I still wouldn't have hit repair, not for a single fire, but I will hit the button, the T key, to start bringing my HP back up. Now I've got a New York coming in at essentially point blank range. He's at 4.5 kilometers, but because he's so close and he's moving slower, I'm aiming right about here. Those hit, I believe, just under the turret, and I Citadel'd him again. The ship behind me is wanting, I knew he was there and he was wanting to get shots off. I'd already started backing up because I was in his way. My first set only did about 5,000. Now I wind up pulling another shot on this guy, and I wasn't trying to kill him, but I wound up Citadel'ing him anyways. The reason you just saw me take those 2 Citadel hits on my own ship is if you look at my angle compared to the Colorado out there, I'm exposing too much of my side. His next shots are going to come in and they're going to knock me down to about 500 hit points. That's low enough that even bow on to the New York and the Colorado ahead of me, they'd still probably be able to kill me. As it was, I was still, if you look at how, if you kind of just use the icons as a gauge, you can see that I've still got too much of my side exposed to him. I should have been more bow on to him. Again, you know, one of the big things about World of Warships is mini-map awareness. And knowing what the other enemy, where they are at, what they're up to, and where they're at is really crucial. And I had gotten so locked on that New York, I completely forgot about those 3 battleships up there, and I paid for it. I paid for it in the fact that I left my sight open to them, and they capitalized on it. Had I been paying attention and went bow into them, it would have been, I would have probably survived a little bit, at least a little bit longer, and gotten some more damage in. As it is, I ended this match with about 121,000 in damage between my primary guns and my secondaries. It would have been a lot more had I been paying attention. Really and truly, that's about all I got for this video. I hope that you pick something up from it. As always, we are looking for people to join our Warships division over at Armored Knights. If you want to get some more information about how to join and more about the clan, please visit us at http://armoredknights.us. That's armoredknights.us. There you'll find our TS info and application process. Again, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you pick something up from it.